Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial on MarkSharks. Today we are going to be looking at how chapters in MarkSharks are organized. All of the chapters in each class are structured in a similar way. Familiarizing yourself with the structure will make it easier for you to develop lesson plans and help you determine how you want to use our content with your students. Let's take a look at a few chapters right now. Currently, we are looking at data handling, which is Chapter 5 of the Class 8 Maths syllabus. Every chapter has a pre-test and a post-test. The pre-test will assess a student's prior knowledge, while the post-test assesses their performance after progressing through all the content in the chapter. Students should only take the post-test once they have gone through all of the content in the chapter. This chapter contains two topics: organizing data and chance and probability. We're going to take a look at the first topic and see how the content is organized here.
Sometimes when we are dealing with a large quantity of numbers or data, it is easier to represent the information visually. Let's look at the data gathered from some children about their favorite fruits. This table can be converted into a pictograph by representing each child with the image of the fruit they prefer. So with just a glance, we can easily see which fruit is the most preferred and which one the least by the children.
What you just saw, and now what you're watching on mute, are teaching screens. These screens are where most of the theory is covered. The explanations generally last around 30 seconds to a minute per screen, and there might be a few of these screens in a row that students will need to go over. After the theory of a specific concept has been covered, students will have many opportunities for interactive practice. Let's look at this example on how to depict data using a pictogram. In the previous screens, students learned what pictograms are and how to change the scale. Now, students can actually practice representing data using pictograms. Let's look at another example, this time on bar graphs. In the previous screens, the theory has been covered. Now, students have the opportunity to actually practice and apply what they learn. Let's take a look at another example, this time from Maths Class 10. Right now, we're in Chapter 3, which is pair of linear equations in two variables. While this chapter might look different from that of Class 8, which we just saw, you can still see that the chapter contains all the different topics, as well as the pre and post. Let's take a look at Topic 1, which is graphically solving linear equations.
We have learned that a pair of linear equations can be of three types. Let's understand how to interpret algebraically the type of linear pair two equations will form.
So just like in Class 8, Class 10 also contains teaching screens for the specific concepts. I am now skipping to one of the interactive screens that allows students to apply what they've just learned. In this case, students have access to a calculator that allows them to solve linear equations graphically. Let's put some values in and see what our output will be. So when I zoom in, I can see where the two lines intersect, and then here I can see how I would solve this step by step. After experimenting with the previous interactive, students have opportunities for practice. In this case, students will have to solve problems step by step. This means that they cannot move on to the next step until they have gotten the correct answer. Let's take a look at this. The first step of this problem requires me to figure out what a1 over a2 is. I'm going to look at my two linear equations and I realize that it should be 10 over negative 5. So I'm going to go ahead and input those values. Great, I can now move on to the next step. It's asking me to divide them, so 10 over -5 should equal -2. Okay, I'm able to move on. Now I need to find the relationship between B1 and B2. I'm going to put in 50 over 25, and let's see what happens. I can see that I got B2 right, but I got B1 wrong. I won't be able to move on until I've gotten this step correct. So I'm going to go back and see what I did wrong. I noticed that there's a negative sign before the 50, so now I'm going to go ahead and change that. I corrected my work, and now it allows me to move on, and I can continue on through the problem. This should be -2 now. Great. I have to fill out C1 over C2, find the relationship, and then I should be able to continue on with the problem. As you can see, I went on to solve the rest of the problem on my own. The guided practice here requires students to solve one step at a time. If they get it wrong, they can't move on to the next step. This is important because it forces students to look back at their work and correct their mistakes. Students have the ability to see the answer, but it'll only show them the answer to that one specific step. This allows students to get a little bit of help and then continue solving the problem on their own again. If a student is stuck and can't figure out his or her mistake, he or she can always select Show Answer. This will give them the answer just to that one step, but then allow them to continue solving the problem on their own. Finally, at the end of each chapter, there's a summary so students can review what they just learned. Okay, now you've seen how a typical chapter in MarkSharks is organized. For more information, check out the helpful resources page on our website, www.marksharks.com, or email us at help@marksharks.com if you have any questions.